All right, so now that you have your data on Statcrunch, what you got to do is fix the mistakes. So we got to fix a lot of stuff, and depending on your data set, you might have to fix a lot of stuff, or you might not have to fix as much stuff. Now, I just do want to give you a little disclaimer that every single data set is going to be very different. So the needs for your data is going to vary group by group. So what I cover in this video is one of the most common mistakes that I see in a lot of data sets that students get in terms of responses. And this is kind of what I want you to look for. But depending on your data, you might have to do some different type of cleaning. So every data is different, so we can't treat it all the same. But this is kind of in general what you want to be able to look for. And if you feel like your data needs a little bit more work, then I'll be more than happy to show you, and we can just meet up. Okay, so the first thing that you want to be able to do, so let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go ahead and hover over the line and just make this a little bigger so I can see what the question is. And I think one of the biggest things that kind of is one of my biggest pet peeves is having this, the question up on the very top. Let's make this a lot shorter for us to read. So let's click on, instead of what is your gender, let's just click on gender. Then let's put in GPA. For GPA, we'll put in major, age, and hours of sleep is just hours of sleep. Oops. Okay, so that makes it a lot easier to read, and I can actually make this a lot smaller now if you want to. Okay, so now what you want to be able to do is now you're going to go through column by column to fix all of these mistakes. Now, depending on if you gave a lot of multiple choice questions, you're probably not going to have to fix as many stuff, but if you didn't, then you might have to go one by one. So for example, gender, most of you guys, I think, did a multiple choice where they had to choose. But this, and for this particular group, this one was not a multiple choice question. So you have to go one by one. So one of the things that you can do to see how many of these are, how messed up this is that when you go to graph it, gender is a categorical variable. So we're going to put bar plot. And we're going to click on gender, and you'll see that this graph is just all over the place. It says that there's many different genders, but you see that female is across the board a little bit of everywhere. So we want to be able to put them all in one group. So, one of the things that you want to be able to do is go one by one and fix it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this arrow, and I'm going to sort it by ascending or descending, doesn't matter. And what it does, it kind of alphabetizes it for you. So I'm going to start off with female. So clearly this F should probably be a female, so I'm going to write female. Okay, so then all of these look pretty good. I'm going to skip the gender fluid part. Okay, so and then males, all of these males look pretty good. You have others, then you have another female, so you might want to change it. This guy forgot an E in the female, so you might want to just put an E, but we also wanted to capitalize, so I'm going to write, right, female. Okay, this one also female. Okay, so female. Okay, now these are males, right? So I'm going to write male, and then we got male. Okay, so now when I go ahead and graph it, gender. Okay, so now it still looks a lot cleaner. Now, one of the things that is kind of a little bit weird is the fact that I only have one person that classified themselves as gender fluid, and I have other people in other. So you can do one of two things. You can put all of the others into one category. So you can go into gender fluid and just click on other, right? So that way you have all of them in one particular category. This is only for data purposes, just because having one person in one particular category is going to skew it's not going to make it's going to cause a lot of errors in your data when you're analyzing it. Now, if you don't have a lot of people in this particular category, you can go ahead and just delete them. Don't delete the whole row, but if you feel like, hey, you know what, I only have one person who classified themselves as other, I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of it. You can go ahead and do that if you want to. Okay, but in this case, I think that we have, we don't have enough. Well, first of all, we only have 20 samples, so, but just something to keep in mind. Okay, so our gender variable looks pretty good. Okay, so just to do one final check. gender. All right, this looks a lot better than what it did before. Okay, now we're going to go to the GPA variable. Now GPA, I think it looks all over the place, and mainly GPA is numerical, but you'll see when I look at GPA, it just looks like a big fat mess. Okay, this doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, so we're gonna have to go through it one by one. So all of these GPAs looks pretty good. Here we have a 0, okay, a 0 GPA. So maybe this person barely started school and they don't know what their GPA is. So that can be a little bit weird. We got someone that has 56. Okay, so obviously this is a mistake. Maybe I don't think they really meant 5.6. So this person's being silly. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that person. And then you see a range, a 3 to a 3.1. Now you can go ahead and fix this if you want. Or you can just say, well, you know what? I think it might be like a 3.05. Okay, if they say that, or you can just choose to delete it. So let me go ahead and graph it one more time. Histogram, GPA. Okay, so this looks a little better. Again, this person doesn't have a GPA, so maybe we might want to get rid of them as well and rerun this guy. So, I mean, it's not the best, but, you know, you see a little bit of gas, but that's whatever. You know, it's what we got to work with what we have. But this looks a lot nicer too for GPA. Now, alternatively, another thing that you can do, and let me go ahead and sort them by ascending order. Here's another thing that you can do. Oh, before I continue, be aware you do have missing data. There might be points where the data is missing, kind of like if you see here in hours of sleep, someone didn't answer this question. That's completely fine. Okay. It happens. Missing data occurs all the time, so don't worry about it. But what I was going to say was that one of the things that you can do is make it into ranges. So if you feel like this is not quite good, this is not quite working for you, you can always just make it into a range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a column into the to the right. And I'm going to write here GPA ranges. Okay, so maybe I don't want to work with that particular data. I'm just going to look at the ranges. So maybe I might do like, okay, I'm going to, since I made this in order, I'm going to go maybe from a GPA of 1 to 3. So GPA, or maybe I can just say GPA from 2 to 2.5. So you can say, okay, this is going to be in the range 2 to 2.5. Okay, and then you can do that for all of these other ones. So let me just copy paste this. So I'm going to copy this, copy. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight this to the 2.5 and I'm going to paste it. Okay, so then you don't have to write that over and over again. And then here you can see I can do the same thing, 3 to 3.5. So I can just say, oh no, this would be, oh, but it went all the way to 3. Okay, well, whatever. Okay, so 3 to 3.5. Copy this. And then go down here. 3 to 3.5. And then the other ones will just be 3.51 to 4.0. Okay, so maybe that's a way that you might want to do it. I mean, I don't know. If you really want to go this route, then you can go ahead and do that. Okay. Okay, but notice here that you're still going to get a gap between the 2.5s and the 3 because you don't have any of those ranges. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that if you do this, you don't have a numerical variable anymore. This guy is categorical. Okay, so the GPA ranges, if you feel like you're going to forget, just put this is a categorical variable now. Okay, this guy is now it's a numerical variable. So if you feel like you need to do that to kind of make sure that you don't confuse yourself, you know, you have to do that. So I can just now go look at a bar plot. I can look at my GPA ranges. Oops. So bar plot. I'm going to look at my GPA ranges. And you can see now that this might look a little bit better. I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to just leave it as is. So that's GPA. Major is a big, crazy part. So clearly, if I look at major, if I ever want to look at major and gender, for example, you can see how crazy this is going to be. So let's say I want to graph the major and I want to group it by the gender. you can see how many different majors I have. Okay, so this is kind of ridiculous. Okay, even just graphing just the gender, I'm sorry, not the gender, the major variable, you can see that there's just way too many majors. Okay, so one of the things that you can do, we definitely have to combine these guys into one particular category. So I'm gonna alphabetize them again to make it a little nicer on me. So I'm gonna also insert a column to the right. Okay, and I'm gonna put major, and I'm gonna put here into groups. So I put this one into groups. So art major. So I think one of the things that we can kind of do, so I see art, I see dance, you know, I think then in this case you can just leave this as, it just seems like visual and performing arts. But one of the things that I can also just write is I can also write it as non-STEM. Okay, so non-STEM. Non-STEM would be a really good category. Biology, right? That's a STEM class, right? And so I can just write STEM for my biology classes. And I can do that for all of my sciences. So for example, chemistry is a STEM class. Child development, oh no, this one I'll leave it up to you. I feel like it would be more in the non-STEM, maybe? I don't know. So this one's definitely a STEM class. STEM. STEM. This is non-STEM. STEM. STEM. Poly-STEM. Non-STEM. STEM. I think this is non-STEM, but it's up to you. I guess in the end, you will go ahead and let me know what you think. Psychology for me would be non-STEM, but if you feel like it's STEM, then you can put STEM. Okay, and then you can see this. There's other ones that we quite don't know. So dance, obviously, I would just put non-STEM. And in your paper, you would just say, this is what I ended up doing with this, guys. And then the rest of them is just business. I'm just going to put them as business. I don't think business would fit into any of these categories, so I'm just going to write business. Okay. So now, instead of looking at major, let's go ahead and now take a look at our bar plot with data, major, but into groups. So now this looks a lot better to look at, okay? And after that, what you can do is you can just delete this. I would just keep it just in case you want to remember what you put into what. But in this case, I would just delete this column because I'm not going to really use it, okay? Ages, this looks pretty good. Let's just do one look at the histogram. Okay, so the only thing that you need to be concerned with yourself is with this one person who claimed that they were a 5-year-old child. That is clearly a mistake, okay? I would just go ahead and get rid of that 5, okay? I wouldn't get rid of the whole column. Maybe I'm sorry, the whole row. Maybe they just messed up, and I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of it. Okay, that way it's a lot nicer to work it with. Okay, because what happens is that if you keep this 5 and you want to find the mean of that, so let's find the mean of age. Because you have this minimum value of 5, that's going to mess up your mean. So your mean says here it's the 25.9. So if you get rid of it, you'll probably get a much better representation of what the mean should be. Especially because a lot of our tests use means, so you want to make sure that you make this nice. So this is actually a better representation of what the mean actually is. Okay. All right. So that's for age. Here, hours of sleep. Again, this looks a little bit all over the place. You can see someone says hours of sleep. If this was hours of sleep per week, per day, 40 is definitely not an answer. So here, because you have a couple of ranges, I feel like this is just not going to be really useful. I mean, one of the things that you can do is you can just say, oh, well, this is just going to be 1.5 hours of sleep. You can do that. You can go here and say 2.5 hours of sleep. At that point, I would just use ranges. I would just make this into a range. So I would just do like, let's go ahead and insert one to the right. So I'm going to put hours of sleep. And I'm going to put ranges. So in this point, I would just say, I would keep the 8 or more. So I would write, like, for example, let's go ahead and, so the 8 or more, I would just say 8 or more. Okay. So I'll keep this as 8 or more. Okay, so let me just go ahead and do this. Okay, 8 or more. So I see a, maybe I can do like a 5 to 6, I think. Right, so I would get like 5 to 6. So, let's say 5 to 6. Let me copy this. Oh gosh. And then let me just drag this down. Oh, you know what? Let's change this to 5 to 7. 5 to 7. Okay, 5 to 7. Oh, it didn't copy. Okay. Copy. Drag down. Paste. Okay, there we go. Okay, 5 to 7. And then I see the 1 to 2. And then all the way to 4.5. Oh, gosh. Okay, then that 4.5 is not going to go anywhere. I'm just going to do 1 to 4.5. I don't know. 2, 4.5. 1, 2, 4.5. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, 1, 2, 4.5. So now when we look at that, you can just, so now notice that this one, which was kind of numerical, I made it categorical. So I'm going to change that to bar plot with data, I was asleep, ranges, compute. Okay, so this looks a little bit better. Okay, so that's kind of the whole point of it. Again, you can delete this if you want. It's up to you. So I can just delete column if I need to. And then this would be my nicer clean data. So this is the whole purpose of cleaning data. Do consult with your group of how you want to be able to break this down, especially when it comes to major, especially if you have a whole bunch of different majors and you want to put them in different categories or in different themes. So that's what you want to be able to do. Make it nice and tidy. Again, some people will have to clean a lot. Others won't clean as much. So it really will just be how you kind of created your survey. So hopefully this helps in the cleaning portion of the report.